The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Big Ben Haslar presiding. Your eyes for the Honorable Judge Haslar. Be seated. Welcome to Two Reels, Two Justice. Today we're in the case of The People versus Too Fast, Too Furious, a 2003 sequel to 2001's The Fast and the Furious. Newly minted fugitive Brian O'Connor teams up with an old friend to clear their criminal records and take down a vicious underworld kingpin. For those of you unfamiliar with our court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. As always in this courtroom, films are considered excellent until proven awful, and the burden of proof lies upon the prosecution to prove beyond a shadow of reasonable doubt that this film is guilty. Mr. Maynard Bangs, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Rolled out. Vin Diesel ain't in this movie. He's been recast with a new G. The script did not meet his approvee. The producers went with Plan B. He was rolled out. Ja Rule ain't in this movie. He went on tour and made money. They went and found another MC to appeal to those in their 20s. Michelle ain't in this movie, and neither is Jordana B. This shit's too bad for Tubi. Let's vote this motherfucker guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Dude, I didn't see it on Tubi. What was that a parody of? I'm not familiar.
Roll Out by Ludacris. Ludacris.
I don't know Ludacris. But that makes sense.
It's also the theme song to Lowe's.
If
you need to say it that way, Your Honor.
Oh, well, quality Home Depot prices. Gotcha. Thank you, Mr. Bangs. Appearing on behalf of the defense is Dan Haslar. Is it Forrest? Please present your opening statement.
Okay. I would argue, dear members of the jury, that any sequel that takes the first two adjectives of the original film's title and simply puts two in front of each one of them should be found innocent of any and all crimes by very definition.
Question from the bench. I know it's your opening statement. Do you have any other precedent?
This is a precedent mold-breaking film. Other movie has ever had the tenacity.
Two lava, two lantula.
Okay, all right.
It's a movie. It's pretty. It's not as good as the first one.
It started the trend, though. That's what's important.
You may continue.
To Life, to Brian. We could go all day with twos in these movies. I think it's a trend that regrettably Hollywood has not sought to follow up. But like Electric Boogaloo, it stands in the Hall of Fame of great sequel titles. And for that reason alone, dear members of the jury, I urge that you acquit this film with, what is it, executive decision? No, that's not right. But with whatever...
Extreme prejudice.
Extreme prejudice, there you go.
I don't know if cases are dismissed with extreme prejudice. Maybe
they can be.
They can be.
We only do it for very special ones, but yeah.
Fast and Furious, those rules should be like, you just need to up the vocabulary a little bit.
Yeah, this could be a too fast case. Absolutely.
Yeah. So if something's dismissed with prejudice, it means you can't bring it up on charges again.
Exactly.
We don't have that here.
We have forever clear.
No, we've got lots of Jeopardy around here. Plenty of Jeopardy to go around.
Thank you, Mr. Haslar Forrest. Mr. Maynard Bangs, you may present your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. My first exhibit, in case I was not too subtle in my opening statement, is...
You were?
Vin Diesel is not in this movie!
What?
No!
This sucks for a load of reasons, but let me set the table. Now, the first Fast and the Furious film in 2001 was a surprise hit, and the studios obviously couldn't wait to just churn out the next one as fast as they could. The skinny here is that 2 scripts were developed, one written if Diesel could return, and one if he couldn't. And Vin Diesel read the script, and he thought it sucked. He felt, and has said in multiple interviews, that they just took the characters of Dom and Brian and dropped them in an unrelated adventure with no real connection to the first as a quick cash-in, which is a refreshingly candid response from a member of Hollywood. So Diesel says he's out. In fact, he and the director of the first film go make Triple X. That's how bad they thought the script for Too Fast, Too Furious was. They preferred to go make Triple X. But they bring on new director John Singleton of Boys in the Hood, right? Good director, who says, okay, since we can't get Vin Diesel, Brian can now go on adventures with his new friend, Roman Pierce, who will be played by then mononymously named mononymous Tyrese, who Singleton worked with previously on Baby Boy. And we all know what a box office smash Baby Boy was. I mean, here we are years later, and people still can't stop talking about the cultural resonance of Baby Boy.
Objection, Your Honor.
Please.
Yes.
So the cultural resonance of Baby Boy, in fact, is such that it is being released this very month by the Criterion Collection.
Oh, they released everything. Boo! They released
Mr. Rodriguez, can you confirm?
It's part of a triple feature with Poetic Justice and Boys in the Hood.
The objection is sustained.
Man, that was a good objection. We usually don't get those.
Walked right into that one. Damn you, Criterion Collection.
That's too good, man.
They're like Tubi on the other side of the spectrum. If it doesn't suck, they get it. Now, earlier I said that they prepared 2 scripts. Like 2 scripts, I'm pretty sure they mean they just went through the first one and did a find and replace on everything that said Dom and changed it to Roman. Because that's exactly how this feels. I mean, Tyrese is bald, he's muscular, he's got an even better tan. This feels like a recast via rename because so much of the dynamic is otherwise unchanged, right? Tyrese gets to drive his own car the entire film. You know, we know that he's been in jail, so like Brian, he's clean but he's dirty. The dynamic hasn't changed at all. This is basically the adventure Dom and Brian would have gone on, presumably to clear Dom's record, right? Oh, Dom, sorry, committed crimes, but we'll go undercover to take down someone bigger, and you can, let Dom and I go. Vin Diesel's out. We just find and replace Tyrese into the whole script. It doesn't change at all. Tyrese wasn't even in the original race. Why would they let him be a secret undercover cop? He's just Brian's friend. He's not related to the crime at all. The only difference is that Tyrese cracks a lot more wise than Dom. And I think a lot of that can be credited to Tyrese and Brian ad-libbing, as they're known to have done throughout the film. I doubt a lot of that humor and difference is in the initial script.
Mr. Haslar Forrest, 2 scripts for Too Fast, Too Furious, and this is the one they went with. Do you think it holds up?
I think like the thing that we're pointing out as a bug is actually a feature. I think a Domless Fast and Furious movie is exactly what this franchise needed, especially in hindsight when we see how this thing developed into perhaps one of the most profitable franchises of all time, but also one that ultimately was completely sunk by the ego of Vin Diesel, who cleverly but ultimately kind of stupidly bargained to become the producer after he saw that both of the franchises that he had bet on, not just Triple X, the extreme sports James Bond franchise that he was sure was going to be the next big thing, but also the Chronicles of Riddick, which was his other pet project, the sequel to his low budget, what's it called again?
Pitch Black.
Pitch Black, of course.
Pitch Black is
which also sank, I love the movie, but it sank at the box office. So he came crawling back to the Fast and Furious franchise and negotiated a producer credit. And now it's stuck in limbo because he wants to continue making it about the adventures of Dom, whereas it should have and always should have remained this little silly cars and hot chicks franchise that every movie you do it like an anthology. You just set it in a different city. You have a bunch of races. You have some characters who can return and others who didn't. That's not the path that it took, but I think looking back, with the benefit of hindsight on Too Fast, Too Furious, a Domless Fast and Furious would have served the franchise pretty well.
I'd like to respond to the argument of hindsight, because I think you might invest in the Tyrese and Brian relationship more in hindsight once they're reintroduced and reunited in Fast 5 nearly 10 years later. But that's to Fast 5's credit, their ability to retcon and marry those characters together with the characters they were already redeveloping. The producers of this film didn't have that intention when they were making this way back then. Like I said, this really just feels like he got dropped into Dom's place. And I want to push back on the idea that it's beneficial to not have Dom, because I think you're falling in the same trap that the people who made Too Fast, Too Furious did. They walked out of the first movie and thought it was successful because it was about cars. So they set out to make another movie about cars. Singleton was very clear in interviews saying he really wanted to focus on the culture of street racing. But that isn't the focus of the first Fast and the Furious. It's merely the backdrop. Ultimately, it's a story about an undercover cop who goes native because he's beguiled by the charisma of his suspect and what he sees as the unflinching righteousness of Dom. Even when it turns out Dom actually is a goddamn criminal, even though he is a bad guy, he is still totally entranced by him. The cars are fun and cool, but they don't drive the story.
Ooh.
And ultimately, we do learn in the series that Brian is missing a father figure growing up. I think it's just implied in the first film that he basically grew up without a father. And we know Dom from the first film lost his father young in a wreck. And Dom had to become the patriarchal figure of his family. And that's one of the things that drives this entire series. One of the things that woos Brian is Dom is this patriarchal figure that Brian was missing. And he sort of becomes like a father figure, brother figure to each other. I mean, that's what the first film's about. I mean, the cars, you could put this against anything. We say that about a lot of movies. You know, they could beat video games if you want. If he was somehow doing some illegal video game smuggling, you know. But what if your family don't like video games? They like truckloads of DVD players. I'd
like to point
my
point to the
point
defense.
is the first film is very clear that it's about the magnetism of Dom and the way Brian falls under his spell. And in the second film, we completely reset, and we get, instead of seeing two characters bond and grow and develop, we're told that Tyrese and Brian were childhood friends. They bonded before. The trust and rapport was previously established off screen. We, the audience, don't get to see it develop like in the first film, so we never invest in it.
So does Too Fast, Too Furious have something going on beyond the fast cars and the girls?
I would say absolutely. John Singleton, came to this project after having done nothing but his own developed films. So films that he'd written and directed as a Black director working in Hollywood. And they were all about people of color living in the United States. The first one was a huge hit. And then the films after that, Poetic Justice and the aforementioned Bad Boys. Sorry, no, not Bad Boys. that's a completely different movie.
You see, I don't blame you for not knowing the title. It's not as if it's got a lot of cultural resonance.
But it's in the Criterion collection. I should know every single one of these titles.
We'll see.
God, Bad
We'll
Boys
know it
is
all
in the
soon.
Criterion collection,
Maybe they'll pull it out when they hear this episode.
Anyway, none of those they didn't become as big as he hoped they would, and he kind of had to sort of take a step back and say, you know what, maybe I'm going to have to do some work as a director for hire. And that's how he came into this. And it's fun actually listening to his audio commentary, because he's like, the script wasn't great, I knew it was a mercenary sequel, but it seemed like a fun opportunity to put my stink on this thing, is the words he actually uses, by taking a movie that's just a big, what he calls like a popcorn movie, a formulaic movie for kids that is definitely about cars. We can come back to that point later. But and then turn the races into sequences that are driven more by histories of music videos, anime, and cartoons that he knew that this audience would love, rather than the more grounded approach that Rob Cohen had done in the original Fast and Furious. So the especially the opening race is just like an amazing sequence that's close kind of to the Wachowski Speed Racer in how it kind of completely forgoes the rules, the laws of physics. It's very cartoony. It's very like hyper realistic. It's very colorful. So I think of all the Fast and Furious movies, This one, the thing that Singleton brought to it is, firstly, he brought like this cartoonish sensibility that makes it colorful and fun to look at, more, I would say, than any other movie in this franchise. And the other thing that he does, and he does this working kind of against the grain of the screenplay is always about Brian being this cool dude and Tyrese is like his sidekick. But meanwhile, the camera is fucking in love with Tyrese. Like every shot that Tyrese
I don't think
is
it's
in,
the camera.
the camera is like, oh my God, look at this amazing guy right here, right? And so we get a lot more. It's actually the movie with the highest number of lines and scenes for actors of color in a franchise that at the time was kind of progressive and forward-leaning in the way that it was multi-ethnic and multicultural, but that gradually became like, kind of pale, a little bit beige in its aesthetics. I think, that's the thing that I'd always defend Too Fast, Too Furious for. It's colorful, it's fun, it's vivid, it's cool to look at, and the others just aren't as cool to look at.
If only Singleton could have infused his ability for, you're saying like ethnic representation, with any of Paul Walker's dialogue.
Yes.
Anything he says in this movie makes me just want to crawl out of my skin.
Oh, it's so cringe. It's so cringe.
I think it's one of the things.
Be careful, defense.
Oh,
well, I gotta say, yeah, it's like I'm a pro bono lawyer in this case, Your Honor. So yeah.
Hey, we all love Bono. Everyone likes Joshua Tree. So, but yeah, Walker's dialogue is so cringy, and what sucks about that too is if Singles. You call it hyper realistic. This movie can't make up its mind, right? I think Speed Racer is not a great comparison because I know the jury loves that movie. I can't watch it. It's too bright, too shiny for me. Too many colors. But I dislike the pivot of the way they do the first race for a few reasons. One, those streets are so barren. I mean, I know what you're saying. It's stylized. It's hyper realistic. This is not a real world of street racing because they could never shut down outside like the airlines arena outside Miami. There'd be cops everywhere. There'd be pedestrians. There'd be cars idling on the side. This is several miles completely vacant. Ended by jumping over a bridge, which will destroy your car, and in fact did destroy the car that they did it.
Oh yeah, obviously, yes.
It
almost
did destroy
see it happening. Yeah.
Right. So then they use CGI to clean up the jump bridge, which I got to tell you, one of the best things about the original film and any car movies I like Tarantino's Death Race did it too. It keeps the car stuff practical. And,
Death Proof.
Yeah, exact. Yeah. What did I say?
Death Race.
Oh shit. Death Race is great too, but Death Proof. But similarly, keep your car work practical. This has a few real bad, especially that jump scene. The CGI that they use here is ridiculous, and there's no reason they need to jump a bridge. You wouldn't have done that in any kind of street racing. That's simply not what's done. You do that to escape from 500 police if you're the Blues Brothers. That's what you jump over a bridge for. Or James Bond. He could do it too. But it would make no sense to do in a car you expect to drive away from. And especially to have to do it with the CGI is I think that's the worst. CGI in horror and stunt work, it does not work because it doesn't touch us on that primitive level that even practical makeup effects can still do. Some of that blood still looks a bit like blood. When CGI is used to employ these kind of stunts, you sense there's no danger in it, and so as an audience member you're not thrilled. Like if a stuntman's not going to die, why should I care? This is a reason to invest in this whole art form.
Mr. Haslar Forrest, is the CGI, is it too much? Does it detract from the film, especially given it's aged?
I don't really think so. I think like a number of the big moments in the Fast and Furious franchise have all been 100% CGI moments. Like, Dom's Superman moment when he leaps across the freeway to pull Michelle Rodriguez out of thin air as she's, flying off of a tank. That wasn't a real stunt. Nor
was that in the first film, though?
No, it's not in the first film.
Right. Because I think to Too Fast credit, it may have inspired some of this totally physics leaving shit that happens in the rest of the series. Basically, I think that they looked back at this and was like, we could get away with them just kind of being cops in some way above the law. We'll do that. But as comparing it to the grittiness of the first one is where I find the contrast. I think following it up with a cartoonishness is a strange choice.
Yeah, and I think that makes sense if you think about it from the way it follows on from the Fast and the Furious, which does use a lot of CGI, but mostly to make the races like more visually interesting, but by going inside the internal combustion engine, like following the NOS as it moves through it, or some stuff
that would be
like
hard
that.
to do practically.
I
get it.
All of that looks pretty hideous as well. But then they, like, the first one, of course, ends with a stunt that was a really amazing stunt, with Dom's Charger doing this double flip in midair. But it's just one car flipping over, and you look at it and you're like, yeah, okay, that's impressive, but it's not done by a director like Tarantino, who actually knows how to stage a moment like that for maximum impact. It's just kind of like, okay, so that's a real car, and they apparently did it for real, and they're making a big deal out of it, but it's not that big to look at. And I think the problem that the franchise had moving forward, with the expectation that every sequel has to be like bigger and noisier and stupider than the previous one, is that they're like, how are you going to make these things big if you're doing these street races that are just like, they're a quarter mile. they last a couple of seconds. So I think it's the first step in saying, well, if he did a flip in the first film, they're just going to have to jump higher in the second. So we'll invent a race where they're on a bridge and then he'll jump into the air. And obviously this can't happen. But people bought it when the bus did it in Speed, which was equally ridiculous. So why not? And then I think after that, obviously it spirals outwards till it's like literally cars flying through outer space. So I do think it kind of sets in that way a precedent, but it's a precedent that's inevitable, I think, thinking through how the franchise started. If you're going to do sequels of these things and they have to grow increasingly ridiculous over time, that's pretty much the only way to go, because the only thing, apart from Vin Diesel from the fourth movie back in, the only thing that has absolute continuity throughout the series is it is really about, that cars are central to the action sequences. And so doing action sequences with cars that combine stunts with, bad or mediocre CG work, that's pretty much what the franchise became.
It's about one more thing.
Family.
Thank you. You wrote the book on this.
He knew it. He was getting there.
Right. And I happen to think it's also about star power. You know, like as the films go on, this is basically the MCU with cars, right? What a kind of crazy cast can we keep assembling? How can we top it up or top it on the next one, getting everybody back to last time and building and building. Yep. And so for a franchise defined by its star power, this has a horrible dearth of it, right? I mean, we couldn't get Ja Rule back, right? And so they do another copy and replace, kind of just getting Ludacris for Tej. They basically went through all the popular rappers at the time to see who wanted to take this part. I don't know why he had to be a rapper. I know they went through Redman for sure. Redman was a high pick. And
was Sir Mix-a-Lot next in line? Or
2-3 more. He wasn't popular anymore, Your Honor. I'm sorry, you got to stay in touch.
Oh, no.
And Ludacris was only just starting to come up at that time even. So it's a good spot for Ludacris, but it's kind of just like, oh, we can't get Ja Rule. Let's get Ludacris. Okay, we can't get Michelle Rodriguez. We need another lady driver. We'll get, I don't know, Devin Aoki, Shizuki, who didn't even have a driver's license when this movie had come up. She didn't know how to drive. We can't get Jordana B.
Acting.
We can't get Jordana Brewster, so we have Eva Mendes, whose story ultimately never goes anywhere, even in this series. It seems like it was meant to set up a direct sequel to this, and they end up just scrapping it. I
can't believe you just pointed out, like, they replaced Jordana Brewster, like the non-actress, with Eva Mendes, who's like so much better, as a complaint against this film.
What are these shots at Jordana Brewster?
Let's hear about Eva Mendes then.
I'm defending Too Fast, Too Furious, not the franchise. So let me just
name a movie Eva Mendes has been in that's as good as The Faculty. I'll wait. There are none. All right, great. None. There are none. There are none. Jurors.
It's coming out on the Criterion Collection. I'm sorry.
Next month.
More points of these plot that don't make any sense. In the first film, Brian lets Dom go, right? So now in this film, he's on the run from the police in Miami. And what better way to avoid police detection than driving 600 miles an hour across a bridge and participating in illegal street racing, right? And so, of course, he gets arrested. So now they ask this former undercover cop, who's not an undercover cop anymore, to go back to being an undercover cop to catch this new villain, Verone. You know, obviously because, like I said earlier, Dom was clearly supposed to be here. It was supposed to be about cleaning his record, and they still just need to find a way to, like, wipe his record. Why does he even need to be a former cop? Why can't he just still be a cop and, oh, well, Dom gave me the slip, he punched me, whatever, but I'm still a cop, and now I'm going to go sting this other guy. We've got to do this entire first act thing where he's not a cop, only to wind up right back in the same place where
Your
he is a
Honor,
cop.
Your Honor, please, I object. This is like
Mm-hmm.
with all due respect to the other lawyer in the prosecution here, it's like bringing up points of plausibility against a Fast and Furious movie. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock would be the first one to point out, like, plausibility is the thing that matters the least to an audience for this kind of a film. The audience comes there, like, again, in Hitchcock's words, to be played like a piano. And people they're just coming to see cool stunts, to cool cars. And of course, they know full well that every one of these movies, if the narrative formula is somebody like a cop has to go undercover and infiltrate some kind of cool street racing gang, then we're just going to have to find some suitably ridiculous reason to get him back in that role. And they do that a number of times until they run out of ideas for, like, how can we get Brian back into being a cop? And then they bring on The Rock instead. Like, we'll have another super cop chasing them. So I think part of the fun in watching those movies for an audience is the fact that we know full well that none of this is even vaguely realistic or plausible. And yet that adds to the spirit, that makes the movie more enjoyable, not less. So I don't think that's a legitimate complaint about a movie titled Too Fast, Too Furious. It shouldn't be plausible.
I would disagree, only because we see the reception of the first film, which is grittier and more about people and less about racing, compared to the reception of the second. You know, people don't think that focusing more on the cars and on the stunts was a better move. The first film did a lot better than the second film ended up doing. And later, when they could get more star power in it, I would really push that as just kind of being The Rock and his star power when they managed to move him into that series. That's why I went to go see the movie. You know, they were able to pivot it to something else that we've already agreed doesn't resemble its originator.
Well, I mean, I won't mount this as like an official objection to the bench, but Too Fast, Too Furious made more money than the first movie. So even if the audience, you know, may have grumbled, I wasn't there to, you know, I didn't pick up the same complaints while I was seeing it at the time, you know, with mixed feelings, this lawyer must admit. But, you know, even if people felt like, you know, maybe it didn't measure up, they paid to see it, and its opening weekend was even a lot bigger than the previous film. So it's become,
well, I mean, of course, its opening weekend can largely then be pointed to the goodwill that the first film were out. How did its next few weekends do?
It sank more quickly than the previous film,
so
but still ended up with more money.
You're just talking about the goodwill they got from the first film. That's all I want to stay on that. Next point, the villain here, he's really terrible and dull. He's incredibly vanilla. Verone. There it is. Just 2 licks of the Tootsie Pop, and we've gotten to his name. Played by Cole Hauser, son of Wings Hauser, the biggest star you'd never heard of. Just saying. But he's such a boring and basic villain. He's just sort of bad guy 101. He's mean to Eva Mendes. He's rich. I know that about him.
He has a boat.
He has a boat. So obviously he has a rich. And then he also just has this side where he like tortures people with rats. And that are going to apparently chew through someone's stomach. Not sure that would work. But like hardly the credulity that I'm bothered about was whether the rat could chew through. More like I didn't think this guy would go to this extreme. Like, what is the plot of this film? Like, Verone needs to get money out of Miami. Why does it need to be driven quickly? Who's after him? Who's chasing anyone in these cars? Like, I understand the net is closing around him from customs, but that doesn't mean it's not a matter of seconds that count. He's threatened this cop to get some window where all the patrols will basically turn their blind eye. Brian should be able to drive the legal speed limit all the way to the airport of the boat. Nobody is chasing them at all. Why is anyone driving too fast or too furious in this movie?
Haters gonna hate, driver's gonna drive.
Well, in defense of the villain in this case, I mean, they're driving fast. Well, because it's what the audience is paying to see.
Say it's in the title.
It's
That's the only reason why.
If they're gonna it's not too slow, too mellow. It's just
Exactly.
it's gonna be fast and furious. So that's what the driving has got to be.
Too slow, too mellow. Big Ben's dating profile as well.
No, actually, it was Bad Guy 101.
I've been a fan of Cole Hauser since I saw him in Dazed and Confused, which I think was his first role. And I think curly-headed, ginger, vanilla actors are underrepresented amongst the Hollywood villains. And I'm always happy to see when one of them gets a chance to slip one in, and there we go. So Cole Hauser, is a good character actor and is doing the best he can, which is considerable with a slightly underdeveloped script, perhaps. But I think, seeing the villain on a boat is always just a fun experience for an audience. And in this particular case, a boat that a car drives onto from a half-open bridge raises the fun exponentially, especially because it crashes into Cole Hauser or a stunt double. So anyway, I think Cole Hauser should be, acquitted, or maybe just do like have a reduced sentence. Community service for Cole Hauser.
Mr. Maynard Bangs, do you have any further exhibits? Would you like to rest?
That will do it. I will rest. I'll let the defense take over.
Very well. Mr. Haslar Forrest, you may present your first exhibit in defense of the film.
Well, I'd say, the first exhibit is the one I mentioned just now, is the movie made more money than the previous film. So any arguments about its ineligibility as a solid entry in the franchise are just simply, if we're talking about the third film, that's the first movie that made the least amount of money until recently. And Tokyo Drift somehow has a lot more defenders than Too Fast, Too Furious does. But
somehow.
Someday it will be in this courtroom, I'm sure.
Could be related to being better. I push back on that. As far as ratings, both audience and critic, Too Fast, Too Furious holds the lowest one. So as far as what actually seemed to please viewers, not talking about box office, because you don't get your money back if you didn't like the movie. No. I don't know if you didn't know that. But if you pay and you don't like the movie, they don't give you your money back. They still make that money. So
I return the unused portion for a refund.
Clearly, they had a big opening weekend.
They did, but the trend for sequels generally, especially in this era, has been for the second movie, so the first sequel, the second movie, to cost more and make less money than its predecessor. I mean, Batman Returns had a bigger opening weekend, but ended up making over $100 million less than the original Batman did. Superman 2 made less than Superman the movie, et cetera, and so forth. Every Empire Strikes Back made less than Star Wars. The sequel costs more, makes less money. Too Fast, Too Furious, not true. It did better than the second one. That is because it did a lot better overseas than the original film did. So it was building an audience overseas. And I think the fact that set in motion the idea that this franchise was not just going to be about American cities and the subcultures that do illegal street racing, which is where the first film started off, but that it was going to be like a transnational, metropolitan, multicultural and multi-ethnic ensemble film, is an idea that really derives from what the second movie did. It's like, if we take this and we move it over here, we give it a more international vibe, we make it a little bit more colorful, we try out a couple of things. Not all of them worked. Even I will be happy to concede that it was like a trial and error process, but a lot of the things really do. And I would say, that especially coming to it with diminished expectations, Too Fast and Too Furious still written. Put it on as part of
that's what it says on my dating profile.
Oh, no! There you go. Coming to it with reduced expectations. It's not a bad first date. I would also bring in one other point in defense of this film, which is that I think our perception of the franchise is kind of shifted by the huge gravitational anomaly that is Vin Diesel's ego that has implanted itself so firmly across this thing from the fourth movie onward. So all those people who rank this last, I think they suffer from this kind of weird Vin Diesel derangement syndrome, which is where they feel like without Dom, it can't really be a Fast and Furious movie. Whereas I think if you approach it with an open mind and you think this is about, it's a genre film, it's an action film, it doesn't overstay its welcome, it's 104 minutes long, it's a nice fast ride. It doesn't hit all of the beats that you're expecting it to, but it hits enough of them to qualify as a substantial entry in the franchise and a fun action movie in its own right, with a passable villain, some really strong action sequences, and a real good sense of color, excitement, drama, and a little bit more diversity than actually most of the other films have, thanks to John Singleton, who brings a good eye to the camera. So I would say that it's like the one that everybody underestimates, but that if you approach it with an open mind, it's really not as bad as they think.
Prosecution, I'd like to hear about this globalization point. Maybe it's a little bit more accessible overseas, and maybe people are judging it just based on the lack of Dom that they've seen it in retrospect.
That rather than being sort of a localized, gritty street racing crime story, it becomes like an international sweeping,
more accessible
agent story. I don't know if it's more accessible. I think that's less relatable. It becomes more James Bond, and less kind of crime from the streets. So I think it becomes more abstract. I think it leaves behind the grittiness of this underworld that was interesting and made the first film successful, and it slips into a different genre. It's one that's already successful, that kind of James Bondy, big actiony, sweepy genre.
But wait,
it's become something else.
A point of order, Your Honor. Like, I'm hearing the word gritty about half dozen times just in this one sentence, but I don't know which movie you actually saw when you were watching The Fast and the Furious, directed by Rob Cohen from 2001. That movie is Point Break, but with cars instead of surfers.
Whoa. There are truck drivers who are shooting the main characters with shotguns through their big gritty windows.
But there's no blood. Everything is super
he was
slick.
bleeding hanging off that truck. He was bleeding. Not a ton of blood. But shotgun wounds don't bleed as much as you'd think.
It's really interesting because the original idea for the film, the original pitch, was exactly that. It was supposed to be like a gritty, they even used the word verite because it was based on a magazine article that documented these exciting illegal street races in multicultural Los Angeles at night. And
you should write a book about this.
The original idea was, let's do that. In the same way that Top Gun originated as this idea, like we're going to do a really gritty, depressing movie about how tough it is to be a pilot, and we all know what happened over there. A similar thing happened here. The idea was to do like a gritty thing, and maybe in comparison to something like Fast X or Furious 7 or like, the Superman dive and stuff like that. If you compare it to that, the first film is a little bit gritty. But compare it to almost anything else, and it's just a very slick Hollywood, mid-budget summer blockbuster about hot chicks and fast cars.
I mean, it can be gritty and slick. You've never had any of the milkshakes I've made.
Oh, God.
Of course.
Did you have any other exhibits, Mr. Haslar Forrest?
The defense rests.
Very well. Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Maynard Bangs, you may begin.
Thank you, Your Honor. We've had a lot of fun here today. Yada, yada, yada. Here we go. Maynard Bangs, top 6 in the Big 2-6, baby. Illegal street racers. We didn't get to see finish the race in Too Fast, Too Furious. In no particular... actually, it's in the order they ultimately finished in. Number 1,
God.
Just crossing the finish line moments after Orange Julius in his neon green Dodge Viper. Yuck. Is the court's own Big Ben Haslar,
I knew it.
as he's known on the streets, Fender Bender, for his aggressive take-no-prisoners style behind the wheel. Number 2, fast on his tail. In his 2003 Celine Mustang is his greatest rival, the provocatively named Schlender Bender. Actually driven by Ryan Luis Rodriguez here for comedic purposes.
Of course.
Number 3, Schlenzo D is naturally in the driver's seat of his 1968 Plymouth Roadrunner, also known as the muscle car, because Schlenzo has heavily modified the body with attachments that look like enormous biceps, causing significant wind resistance and drag. That said, it's a powerful machine with 5,000 pounds of towing capacity and a maximum overhead press of 215.
Oh, no!
Number 4, some distance behind them, is the handsome and intrepid wheelman, Maynard Bangs, accompanied by his loyal companion, Pearl the Platypus, foregoing efficiency for style in an exact replica of the Munster coach from the TV show The Munsters. Number 5, the bailiff in his mom's 1997 Toyota Camry. And number 6, dead last, of course, we have Wavy Waverson, who was pulled over moments after the starting line for crashing into a bong store, whatever the hell that means. Thank you, Your Honor. Prosecution rests.
Okay, that was pretty self-indulgent, Mr. Haslar Forrest. You don't have to respond to any of that. Please present your closing arguments.
Closing statements.
Nope, where to begin? Having, written a book on this franchise and spent a lot of time, not just reading about the films and watching them, but also diving into the fan communities. Like, it's interesting how often this film comes up as the outlier in the franchise. Many people seem to think that its ridiculous title aside, it's a film that is too obviously mercenary in its sequel. It lacks a number of key components that Vin Diesel, cough, cough, and a number of other things that the others, it's not gritty enough. I don't know, maybe not. Its vanilla villain might be a little bit underdeveloped, etc. and so forth. So people tend to dismiss it in the same way that people doing the machete version of Star Wars tend to skip over the Phantom Menace. But Your Honor, they're missing out on so much that is so enjoyable. Why think about whether a film is plausible or whether it has a strong enough villain? Not every movie needs Heath Ledger to elevate it. Some movies do fine with anime-inspired street racing that, yes, defy credibility, but that give us a huge dopamine boost as we're watching it of pure outright cartoon-inspired fun. It's a rare moment where a director for hire takes an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm going to I got to say it again, put my stink on this thing and make this a summer movie that simply is not embarrassed about what it's giving its audience. We all know what we're paying for. We're paying for a sequel to a surprise hit movie that's rushed into production, and we're just going to make it as fun as we can. And that's exactly what they did. Are there limits to how fun it is? Sure. Is it not the same thing as an ensemble-driven MCU-like world of cars and hot chicks as it has moved into the 21st century? Of course it's not, because that thing hadn't been invented yet. It's typical of its time. It's a time capsule of the early 2000s when we could have, you could go into the multiplex in the summer, pay for a movie, and get the ride that Too Fast, Too Furious was. And if that was playing in cinemas today, I'd go see it right away. The defense rests right there.
Thank you all. And speaking of making it as fun as we can, members of the jury, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, and Mr. When Are You Gonna Pop My Clutch, Mr. Ryan Luis Rodriguez, the provocatively named When Are You Gonna Pop My Clutch, Ryan Luis Rodriguez. You've all heard the facts concerning this case. It's now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of being a bad movie. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict. Right this way? I had diesel derangement syndrome, but penicillin cleaned it right up.
So that's what everyone means when they say fuck DT. They're saying Dom Toretto.
That makes sense.
Okay, gentlemen, what are we thinking? Dylan, you've said the least during this episode, so I'd like to hear from you.
It's true. I've been laughing so much. This was a real fun one. Very strong cases from both lawyers. A great, first case effort by Dan here. I was very impressed, and that's going to go down as my favorite objection of all time. That criteria collection. I mean, that was just look. It's not enough to sink Maynard's case, but God, that was funny. A lot of fun. And just to kind of like peek behind the curtain on a couple things here, when we were arranging for Dan to come on the show, he did pick this one with the understanding that it's like the least received of pretty much all of them, like amongst the fans and everything. So he did take a very tough choice. So I definitely respect that. And, one of the things I go back to, and I think Maynard was really hitting on the head here, it was Paul Walker is just so terrible in this. Oh, I can't, everything he said. And even the stuff that Tyrese said, like, that bro. I mean, I say bro a lot. I call people brother all the time. I don't go bro. It's like, Jesus Christ, man, what are we doing here? So the villain was so bad when I was typing up the little synopsis here at the beginning that the judge reads, I was going to say drug dealer, and then I realized, wait a minute, is he actually a drug dealer? Or is he a money launderer? Like, what actually did he do that made him a bad guy? He was just trying to move money. So I just settled on Underworld
CEO
Kingpin.
of Villain Inc.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like, he's just such a generic villain. But at the same, so what cuts against that, though, and I think this is a good point that Dan made, is that the racing and the cars and the characters are kind of stylish and cartoony. We just don't have a plot to support them. And I understand that a big part of what Singleton was saying was it's all about the racing and the fast cars and things like that. But when you don't have even like a drop of like the melodrama that the first one had, I do feel like it's missing something. It feels very deficient to me. And a big part of that is coming just from the first one. I do respect Dan's argument too, that the series has shifted so wildly. It is kind of hard to look at this in a vacuum. Like, this is not the movie they would have made if they knew they were going to be making 12 more movies.
Do you think that this film contributed to that direction, though? As he
for sure. I just happened to read a whole book about it, as a matter of fact. So, I
warmly recommend some competition, Dan.
Yeah. So there's definitely pieces of this that would contribute to the broader vision where it ended up going, but it wouldn't be until Justin Lin took over the series where he had the grand franchise vision. So that is what makes Too Fast, Too Furious very interesting as a curio, as a time capsule, as cresting this big mega franchise wave that was going to take on a lot of people. And it's kind of interesting that Fast and Furious was able to kind of start it, but also to ride it, like, because obviously we know how the Marvel multi-universe and so many other big franchise IPs have developed. Fast and Furious had no such benefit. They had these kind of 3 clunker movies here at the beginning, and then when 4 came around, that's where the vision really
is the first one a clunker too? Or?
Well, I mean, in comparison to what the franchise would become, I do think there's merit to these first 3 movies, but they do kind of stand on their own, and it's tough to even consider them Fast and Furious movies in a way based on how the franchise has developed. So it really depends on how we want to look at Too Fast, Too Furious. I mean, I'm very sympathetic to Dan's argument. Like, just the name alone, it's literally only right behind.
It sets your expectation like right up front.
Yeah, you can't go into this movie expected to take things too seriously. But that's what I'm saying though. So even though I'm along for the ride, you don't have even a little bit of the drama that the first one had, which wasn't like deftly executed or anything, don't get me wrong, but like, I don't fear the villain. I don't feel invested in their goal. And if we're just going to judge the stunts and the driving, then Maynard's kind of right.
Almost every Marvel film would fall by those standards. Like all the
well, I would take down every Marvel movie.
That's true. I just realized as I was talking to.
Yeah, no. So there's a lot to like here. There's a lot that's enjoyable. Though I am beginning to wonder if, like, is this just a bad movie that we can enjoy? But I'll let you guys pontificate more than me.
I'm no fan of the Fast and the Furious. I have seen all but 3 of these films, and I hated all of them. I don't think I've rated one of them higher than 2 stars, maybe 2.5. But I'm not putting my own opinion up front here. I like comparing to the other ones. I think, like, is this a bad sequel? I think it probably is. Is it a passable film with what it's like putting out there? With the name Too Fast and Too Furious, it's right up front of what it's meant to do. And I think it kind of hits that. I watched this one in a vacuum without seeing any of the other ones near it. So I didn't like have any of thoughts of Dom really like sort of leering over the whole thing as other people might if they were to watch this in a marathon with some of the other films. I thought Paul Walker, he's kind of not the best lead, but he's likable. I thought I bought both of them. I did see like some of the comparisons as to like who they're trying to replace certain characters with. But Eva Mendes is better than Jordana Brewster. I will plant my flag there. No, I was really impressed with the defending counsel. I do not like this film, but everything that was lobbied against this film, there was a response for, and a real response, not a talking around the point response.
I do respect that about Dan, because so often he'll be, oh, but it's fun or something. He was able to provide a little more concreteness to some of the silliness. I mean, because Maynard did bring up good points to take this movie down, though. I mean, but
and that wasn't hard.
Yeah, he did. But I will give Dan a lot of credit. He actually had some really substantive responses, which is always a good thing in this court.
Thank you.
Ryan, where are you going?
Well, for me, this is a 3-way tie for the worst movie of the series.
Fantastic.
Together
What are
with
the other
first
two?
one and Fast X, which I think is the most problematic one, mainly because Vin Diesel
thought that was,
made Justin Lin retire from the entire industry and leave the movie completely after just like 2 days of shooting.
Is Fast X a heartburn relief medicine?
That was in my Letterboxd review. Thank you, Ben.
That's a great joke, Ben. You're funny.
But this is a movie that
I didn't know I stole it. Sorry.
Yeah, after that bailiff joke you came up with.
That one was mine.
This is a movie that I like a little more each time I see it. And I really think that Eva Mendes should have been in all the movies going forward. Has a tremendous...
Better than Jordana Brewster.
Way better than Jordana Brewster. But at the same time, the CGI is hideous. But at the same time, I love the soap opera elements of it because I'm a big soap head. And that's what this series ended up becoming, just a globe-trotting spy soap opera, which you kind of need to get this movie to get there because 3 of the main characters end up becoming franchise regulars. And I really enjoyed the homoerotic buddy dynamics between Brian and
oh yeah, they were in love. They were way more in love than he and Eva.
they were like, if you cut the camera, if you let the camera go for like 3 more seconds, they would try to kiss, and then someone was to cut, and then they would go back into position.
There's a great drinking game you could do with like Tyrese taking his shirt off, but you know.
And Paul Walker just giving the up and down with his eyes.
There you go.
So,
Shot
let's start locking it in, guys. Dylan?
Okay. You know, I respect a lot of what Dan brought to the table here. I really do. But Maynard, I think, just hit the nail on the head. And I think there's something important about Too Fast, Too Furious actually being bad, informing how the rest of the franchise went. Because if this really worked, then would be what they would stick with. So I do think it's going to be guilty today, boys.
Reasonable Doubt is the name of the game here, and I do have reasonable doubt just because there was a real response to everything that was leveraged against it. It's not a film that's for me, but he did make the case that it was a film that advertised itself exactly what it delivered. So it didn't mislead me in any way. I'm going to say not guilty.
Perfectly reasonable.
I'm going to go ahead and make this very interesting and go not guilty.
Oh my God.
Whoa!
So
Not too guilty.
Let's go tell that very handsome judge.
Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Too Fast, Too Furious, we find the defendant not guilty of being a bad movie.
No way! No way!
Oh my God!
All those engines revving.
Monica!
The verdict is so render. Too Fast, Too Furious is free to go and pursue its dream of crossing over with Mario Kart for a race on DK Mountain. Court is adjourned.
We all know they should cross over with Transformers, though, right?
Yes.
Ooh.
I mean, Tyrese is in both of them.
I want to rewrite my verdict.
I mean, I think time travel is what's next.
But in Tokyo Drift, they are racing DK Mountain.
Okay,
so.
But they've been asking the actors, and they want to cross over with either Jurassic Park or Transformers.
Okay, I'm fine with both of those. This is Benoit Champagne. I am a championship French bicyclist. When are you going to make an action movie about bicyclists racing against drug dealers? Come on. Then I am reporting to you live from outside the Hills of Justice. Dan Haslar for us. Would you care to share your thoughts on the jury's verdict?
Well, I must say it was an uphill battle with a movie with this kind of reputation, but I find our defendant fully vindicated and justifiably cleared of all charges that have been brought against it. It's been a veritable smear campaign amongst the fan community almost from day one in unfairly comparing this film through the absence of Vin Diesel, the actor who ultimately bears some degree of responsibility for sinking the absolutely outrageous franchise with the abominable Fast X not too long ago. So we're very pleased that the film has been cleared of all charges. I do hope many people take an opportunity to rediscover a shameless formula film, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, very good. Off you go on your bicycle. And here comes Maynard Bangs. Get over here, mon ami. Excuse me, could we get a word on how you feel about today's verdict?
Well, Benoit Champagne, I happen to know you are not the authentic Benoit Champagne. You are
That is not true. I just won a sake contest or something.
Anyway,
I'm smoking cigarettes.
I'm not all that surprised. I can live with this one. I kind of found it fun myself as well. I think I lost it as soon as he said the thing about the title. I don't think it mattered. Anything I said for the next half hour, I sat here flapping my gums. He won the jury on the stupid title thing, and I was screwed from then on out, and it was all just a silly dance. But I can live with it, and I can't wait for it to come to the Criterion Collection.
All right, thank you very much. I am now riding my bicycle with 2 Uzis and only using my feet to steer. It is very difficult. Now let's go back to the courthouse for post-trial.
Wonder if that guy wants to be our new bailiff.
Oh, no.
I don't want that guy to be our new bailiff.
He is having adventures every week.
I've been advocating for a French bailiff since season 1.
Well, learn a French accent.
Yeah.
You can
or think of a name as good as Benoit Champagne. Whatever comes first.
Impossible. Anyway, fun case. So, Dan, what keeps you busy when you're not here? I heard you wrote a book about this stuff.
I did write a book about this. I'm a media scholar working at a university in the Netherlands, Utrecht University. And I spend my time, I divide it between teaching classes. So I just, mostly it's just, okay, let me rephrase this. My life is spending about 6 hours a week in classrooms with students talking about movies,
Nice.
which is just the best life I could possibly have. All the rest of my time is taken up either watching them, reading about them, or writing about them. So I write articles, opinion pieces.
That's the life.
This is my book on the Fast and Furious. Started out as a book about how the franchising model has basically changed from Hollywood making blockbusters followed by maybe a couple of sequels to the ongoing cinematic universes that now dominate our media landscape, and of course all of the multiplex screens. And going through all of the different big franchises that have appeared over the past 25 years, it turned out that the Fast and the Furious was actually the one that most perfectly captured how things have changed, because it didn't start out as, we're going to do like an ongoing serialized story with recurring characters. It was started out completely differently, and then they had to like retcon it into something that seemed to make some kind of sense as an ongoing story, even if it does kind of involve time travel in a way, because in order to get Han to be an ongoing member of the group, they had to pretend that the third movie takes place in the future of the next movies. So in a way, they've got time travel kind of covered in there. That book came out last month. It's called Fast and Furious Franchising. It's published by Minnesota University Press, but as I think Dylan carefully confirmed, it is pretty readable. If you're just a curious reader, you want to find out, read about how movie culture and movie production especially has changed, and also read about literally every single Fast and Furious movie. My next book is coming out next March, and it is a book on the movie
Fast, Too Furious franchise.
It is on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Nice.
It's for a book series called Film Minutes, and the idea of the series is you actually write about a movie 1 minute at a time. So chapter 1 is minute 1, et cetera, and so forth, all the way up to chapter 84, which is the 84th minute of the 84-minute movie Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was
the credits roll.
It was
That's a deep chapter.
Really, so if you're super into that movie and you want to read about literally every shot inside it and think about it, and it completely changed my perspective on the film, watching it so closely. It's always been one of my favorite movies, and my appreciation for it just grew exponentially while looking closely at all the tiny little things that they did inside that film. That's coming out next month, and my book after that is going to be a book on the Twin Peaks franchise, which is also.
You're Ryan.
Man, you're speaking Ryan's language here, man. This is excellent.
How long would it take you to write a book of that style of Oppenheimer or something?
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Well, Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Honestly, I pitched a book a book like this on Twin Peaks: The Return, so that's 18 hours, which would be about 1 million words. It was kind of a joke when I pitched it to the publisher. I never thought in a million years they'd say yes, but they did. And then I had to kind of find a reason to kind of take that back and turn it into something else because I realized it would take like 4 years and it would just completely drive me crazy. So no, an 84-minute. I don't know if I'll ever do that again, but it was a fun thing to do while it lasted. So anyway, that book is coming, and then
would you do a 70-minute one?
Yes.
Yeah, horror classics would work. The things that run under 90 minutes, I think, would be.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's a good one. No, that sounds
But
interesting.
it depends
I
on
think...
how long a chapter is.
Yeah, but Dan, if I could sing the praises of your books for the benefits of the listener at home, I think one of the neat things you talk about is that since Fast and Furious wasn't based on like an existing IP, you get to look at the blockbuster effect in the franchising effect it had in a vacuum. Because if you did it with Marvel, people could say like, oh, well, since it's based off the comics, it had a built-in audience. I mean, Fast and Furious had to do everything from the bottom up. So the way you go through each movie in the franchise, explaining how it fits into this new mold, and in many ways helps create the new mold, I think is very instructive. And anyone who's interested in the way movies have been going for like the past 15 years, you're going to learn a lot reading this book.
Yeah, thanks a lot. That was 100% my intention. I thought if you look at even for I keep like, because it's not the most highbrow franchise, so every time I would talk to somebody about this book, I'd be kind of like, I'd start off being like, it's not really about the Fast and Furious. It's just like, that's the case study, it's really about franchising and stuff. But by now I'm like a full-throated, oh yeah, it's about the Fast and Furious franchise. Of course. Because it's kind of like, whatever your opinion is of these movies, I really have come to love the fact that I think they're just doing the same thing that other franchises do. They're just not embarrassed or shameful about it. And part of that is they're not trying to be like a highbrow or middlebrow thing where they're trying to get some kind of prestige. They're just like, we're just about the fun and we're about the money, baby. So we're going to keep that rolling. And like even Mission Impossible has this kind of like, almost elitist sense of like, no, we're doing cinema, right? We're doing cinema. And Fast and Furious is just like, no, man, we're just doing movies. These are movies. Yeah. And people who come to see these things, they love our characters. It was huge in China for a long time because it had that curious mix of like family and sentimentality and huge ridiculous stunts, So it's such a fascinating property to look at, and it's been really fun to devote like a year of my life to those to this nonsense. And honestly, like when you guys approach me like, is there a movie in the Fast and Furious series that you'd like to defend? I mean, I just like the underdog as an idea, and just the idea of defending Too Fast, Too Furious, which is so obviously a terrible movie. But I love terrible movies.
Don't say that. We just had a whole
He's immune now. He's immune now. He can say
Already,
what he
we've
wants.
been cleared. It's like OJ. Like
Exactly.
he's like
It's not.
once he's off, he's like, of course I did it. I'll write a book about it.
This court has double jeopardy. We have triple
It's
jeopardy. We will just keep trying you till we're bored talking about it.
We can do this again. Oh, what fun!
Say, Ryan?
I would defend 6 out of all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the only one we done before
I
this
love
was
9.
8. We did 9? I thought we did
We did
9.
9. Yeah, we did 9.
Nine.
Oh,
I agree. 6 is my favorite as well, and that was my first idea. But then I thought it's too easy. Like you could really make a case for that being just a really, really strong, exciting.
How long is that runway? How long is it?
Oh, get over it, Ben.
Plausibility is for grannies. Come on, don't.
Yeah, I mean, the problem, Ben, is now that you've let Too Fast, Too Furious off, what
It's
movie in this
precedent,
franchise can you possibly
Well, it
find
doesn't have as
Oh, I don't
ridiculous a
think it could.
title, so it doesn't have that going for it.
Yeah, that is true. But I think as far as not taking themselves, like Transformers does very well at just being like, nah, we're just making movies now, bro. Like, I mean, they did the Dragon one, they did Beast Wars and all that. So I think they're also just putting out crap. The Godzilla, the MonsterVerse.
Oh, they've really leaned into that.
They're really, really good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, King Kong's basically in the last one is basically an action hero. I can't wait to see like his miming action in the next one. So I think I agree with you on Mission Impossible. There are some that's Tom Cruise's fault. He's always been up his own ass. So he's the Vin Diesel in many of the ways of the 90s.
For sure. Yeah.
So, but I think more people are like, when it comes to a blockbuster, people do want to turn their brains off. And they want to
They just don't want to be pretentious. I think that's the thing. They don't want to be didactic and trying to teach them something. It's like, let us just have fun first. Like, if you can make it fun, the other stuff can follow.
Damn educational Mission Impossible films.
I think they just want to know what to expect. They don't want to be,
Yeah, you don't want to get blindsided either.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, we always ask for recommendations from our guests for movies that you think people should see. So, Dan, what is a movie that you think people should see?
Gosh, I think I was just putting together my the syllabus for the Introduction to Media Studies course I'm teaching, and the one movie that I slipped in at the end that I just thought my students have got to see this, and it's not a very widely known film, is Hundreds of Beavers.
Ryan's number one movie of that year.
Ryan's
Yeah,
language.
you and Ryan are BFFs.
You and Ryan got to hook up. This is good
You
stuff.
guys are drift compatible.
Have we got like a
Absolutely.
Tyrese Bryan thing going on over here?
I
over,
think so.
over Skype?
Mhm.
Absolutely. Now, Dan, put your shirt on and tell us about Hundreds of Beavers.
Slowly.
Tell us about Nice Beaver. I know. So Hundreds of Beavers is a DIY slapstick film. It has no dialogue, and it's about it's like a Looney Tunes. It's like 100-minute Looney Tunes cartoon mixed up with Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and video
Legend
gaming.
of Zelda.
I guess that's my best. I've recommended it like hundreds of times over the past 2 or 3 years, and it's the one movie where every single time I told somebody to watch it, they thanked me for it. They were like,
Oh, yeah.
especially if you tell them like drop an edible and go for it, you'll have, or just drink like a whole bunch of beers while watching it, and watch it with friends makes it even better.
Have some Applejack.
I've watched it with my kids. I've watched it with friends. I've watched it.
He didn't drop an
I watched
edible,
it
did
drunk,
The kids were wasted.
Oh man, it's like for children's parties or for like bachelor parties, it's equally suitable, and it goes in any place. And it's the one movie that you can put on because it's so tiny that it never played like the Cineplex, so it's like a cult thing. I don't know how many like. I'm not surprised to hear you guys know about it.
Close to
But
one of our most recommended movies.
there you go. Okay, well,
Yeah.
This is our third.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
think
maybe
Nikki
4. Yeah.
didn't
Might be
Nikki
four.
do it as well.
Yeah,
It is.
Nikki
Oh, this
did
is fourth. This might be our most recommended movie.
No, would
Sinners
still
is
have
tied.
that,
I think Sinners is tied.
I was
Maybe
going to
it's
say
tied.
it's got to at least be tied.
There's too much overlap to ignore between the two.
You're right. Sinners and
That's our
Hundreds
next
of
head-to-head.
Beavers is,
Stay tuned.
There's
Oh.
the double feature to check out. Exactly.
All right.
Sinners of Beavers.
So,
We'll work on
Maynard,
it.
you were the other lawyer. What is your recommendation this week?
I kind of took the easy way out since I had to watch it to inform my case anyway. The original Fast and the Furious, unless you count the 1954 Roger Corman one, which I don't,
do.
and you shouldn't. It's
Oh.
2001's The Fast and the Furious. After developing a man crush on his suspect, an undercover cop gets pulled into his world of criminal underground street racing. Am I lying? Come on. Once you get past the cars and the sex, which are really only the backdrop, this is a story about people, which sucks. It should be a story about robots. Robots who build and race cars. Now that's $1 million idea. Anyway, its success comes from its ability to stay low to the ground, remain gritty, and use practical stunt work that thrills without challenging credulity. It also made me nostalgic for the year 2001, when you didn't have to give a second thought to the bad optics of naming an event Race Wars.
I was thinking that too when I watched
No,
it.
you see, what I meant was a place where individuals can come together and compete with others of different ethnic backgrounds. No, I'm talking about engaging in combat against people who look different than you. It's about starting dialogue. Suddenly, the screenwriter started talking too fast, too furiously. If I could go back in time and tell the original filmmakers that this franchise would ultimately become little more than the MCU with cars, I imagine they would ask, what's the MCU? That said, the chemistry between Diesel and Walker is undeniable. Can you name a bigger bromance in popular culture?
Him and
Yes,
Tyrese.
several. But without a doubt, this is one of them. And if you want to check it out, The Fast and the Furious is currently streaming on Peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
So you like this one too, Schlender, or
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
is this one you watched a lot? I watched this a lot as a when it came out.
It was
as
on a
kid.
lot. That's for sure.
'Cause
like
I think-
TNT and stuff.
I think I had a friend who loved Ja Rule. I know a lot about Ja Rule, and I do a great Ja Rule impression. Murder! You all heard it. So
There it is.
Monica! It's like the same voice, though. So who was Judge? Big Ben.
My recommendation today is honestly only decent. Just a film that was interesting enough to hold my attention throughout, but 2026 is so
What is
barren.
a recommendation of justice, Ben?
2026 is so barren of really interesting films, so I have no choice, I'm afraid, but to talk about Pressure. Now, I am setting the bar low intentionally in my hype, because if you go in expecting something that's only okay, you'll hopefully be surprised by some of the performances and attention to detail that is there. The film shows a lot of what went into the successful execution of military operations, not just how many troops or on what ground or terrain, but also the weather, as the attempted strike could go very poorly if accidentally done during a hurricane. General Dwight D. Eisenhower, played by Brendan Fraser here, enjoying his post-Academy prestige before doing a fourth Mummy film, is planning to execute D-Day, and a team of meteorologists are tasked on advising him to go or don't go based on atmospheric shifts and historic meteorological data. I've often joked about being a weatherman. It's like the only job you can do where you're wrong like 70% of the time and still keep your job. But in this case, being wrong could cost lives and a war. Given that we know D-Day happened and was successful, I know, spoilers, right? They do a good job of drumming up the tension as you're very invested in, come on, is this going to rain or not? It can be a tad dry, but honestly, that probably speaks to how historically accurate it is. If stepping into actual history without too many dramatic embellishments is a thing that interests you, this is perhaps one to check out. And I think you will be pleasantly surprised by a number of the performances and be sucked into the world's most dramatic weather report.
If I had a nickel for every time we recommended a movie about the planning of D-Day, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that's happened twice.
What was the other one?
It was the one with Tom Selleck. I forget what it was called, though.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. But if they don't do a sequence of them storming the beach at Normandy with the Queen,
no, that's in there.
But it's got to have the Queen needle drop. Rush up, rushing down.
That part you'll just have to watch and see.
That'd be sick. I'd watch it. Ryan, what have you got for us?
I don't know about you, but I'm not particularly enthused with the Olympics. Part of it is because I don't care about sports, even those without teams, but also because I don't find them to be very visually dynamic. This week's recommendation is an exception to the rule, 1977's White Rock. Get this. James Coburn, the actor James Coburn, not the Olympian James Coburn, narrates the series of intensely well-photographed vignettes concerning the 1976 Winter Olympics in Austria. He even goes so far as to hop into a bobsled on 2 separate occasions. While all of this happens, Coburn explains the dramatic stakes of each sport, from the men's downhill to hockey, and while I'm not sure that he has anything to do with these sports, it's completely hypnotic as a film. Set to a trippy Rick Wakeman score and Coburn's sonorous tones, this is pure cinema, lasting only 77 minutes, but so hypnotic I could watch it for hours. Each viewing, 2 total, I felt like I had taken an edible and I just zoned out and soaked up the kinetic detail. But I swear I was totally sober. Or was I? You'll never know. And never knowing is half the battle. At this point, I usually recommend that you help keep physical media alive and pick up the Criterion Blu-ray, but it's only available as part of a $200 set with some other great Olympic films, and that's a hard bargain. So instead, I'll let you know that it's currently streaming on Criterion Channel, and it looks amazing. Support your local library.
It's the next
I'll just buy the $200 box set. Then you have recommendations for the whole year.
Man, can you and Dan be any more drift compatible? You're both
I know,
dropping edibles and watching Criterion.
How do you feel about the
movies.
Olympics, Dan?
Well, last night I watched the Lucio Fulci directed Conquest, and I had deliberately dropped an edible and regretted it, because if any movie is completely self-sufficient in getting you completely like brain dead wasted, it's that movie. It was just too much to be stoned and watching Conquest at the same time.
I just want to pitch a show where you and Ryan host it, and you watch all these sort of highbrow movies, but you get really high before. And then
Conquest is the opposite of a highbrow movie. It's like
I don't know what movie I
Planet of the Apes. Conquest is a 1982 Italian sword and sandals fantasy film.
Oh, okay.
It is the
Fulci did
most
not make high-minded content.
It's not.
I don't know. He's Italian, so there's going to be a lot of breasts.
It's boobs galore.
Okay, so that's the other kind of Italian movie. That's
boobs,
fine.
gore, and swords, and fog every shot. And the
I could have watched that instead of Pressure.
Everything is fog.
You should have. Anyway, I usually find the Olympics, if they're dynamic anyway, it is visually. I mean, aren't sports always really visually dynamic?
I would say so. It depends on the sport.
Speed. Beach volleyball, extremely visually dynamic until it's not. So Schlenzer, send us on
gymnastic.
home.
I think I will. So to put a button on Ben's thing, it's Ike Countdown to D-Days, the Tom Selleck Eisenhower movie that I recommended so many years ago.
I wonder how similar they are.
I mean, it's an actual historical event, so I'm hoping close enough. My point being, my recommendation today, you'd think would be tailor-made for a guy like me. It's got Henry Cavill, Jake Gyllenhaal, directed by Guy Ritchie. That's right, I'm talking about In the Gray. But let me tell you something. In the Gray is where you're going to feel emotionally about this. It's not particularly exciting. It's stylish, but boring. I wish there was more of a there. So essentially, the real problem is that they made one really cool character, but then they split him into two characters with Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal. They should have just combined them into one ass-kicking son of a bitch, but they didn't have the courage to do it for reasons that I can't explain. The whole movie is basically told through monologue and dialogue of them explaining their plans on how they're going to rip off this, again, very generic bad guy, not dissimilar to what we saw in Too Fast and Too Furious. So they explain the plan. We see the plan happen, and everything kind of works. So it's like, what would you say we're doing here exactly? It was just, man, what a disappointment. It really was. I was really expecting a lot more from these two otherwise charismatic leading men who are just completely flat in this. And ultimately a plot that just becomes so attenuated. Like, you don't care. Like, you don't even know who's supposed to be getting their comeuppance or why at this point. And you're kind of just rooting for the drug dealer. It's like, you know what? They're so freaking annoying. I hope you get away with it. Let him keep the $1 billion.
So it's like The Gentleman in that way.
What's that?
It's like The Gentleman in that way.
A little bit. I like The Gentleman a bit more, though, because I like the idea of them growing weed underground. Like, that was pretty clever. But that's the other thing, too. There's nothing clever in this movie at all. Like, it seems like...
Weather Report movie's not sounding so bad now, right?
Well, no, I know. That's why I thought it was funny that you should say that, because I was like, oh, man, Ben is taking away my thunder here, because I'm also recommending a boring movie.
No, actually mine's pretty good.
Yeah.
I undersold it.
No, I know. Well, and yours has the benefit of being historically accurate. Mine should have been an awesome drama with tons of explosions. And God, you know what was amazing too? There's one big explosion at the end that's framed and shot just like a 90s explosion. It's a still cam wide shot, and you can just see how the explosion technology went off. It looks like a little model blowing up, and it doesn't fit with the rest of the movie. And it's just like, man, you can't do a better explosion than what we were seeing, like, I don't know, like in The Rock, you know what I mean? Like, seriously? Anyway, a bit disappointed in this one, but you should still go out, buy it on Amazon, digital, not the physical, pay that money for the 4K and enjoy it.
Why? So they can change it on you later?
Yes.
Maybe they'll replace it with a better movie.
Yes.
There's a reason to buy digital.
Support digital media, everyone.
Maybe they'll just sneak.
They'll replace it with The Gray with Liam Neeson. Now there's a movie. I should recommend that. What the hell's wrong with me?
If it hasn't been recommended, it would have made Liam Neeson our most recommended actor.
I want to get Henry Cavill up there. I don't know if he's been in enough movies, but
I'll give you the stats.
Thank you, Ben.
Anyway, so with that, we are all out of show, but we want to thank our guest, Dan Haslar, for joining us. Thank you so much, Dan.
Thank you for having me. It's been a real pleasure.
We're going to have you back because there's 9 more of these movies. You have to defend
well, we
every
did one
last one of them now.
I'd be happy to attack and or defend every one of them.
Well, you're going to find the best one. You're going to have to.
Attacking feels good, man. One. It feels good.
It's true. You get the taste of blood. You love it.
Yeah, I think you're going to like it.
So we hope everyone else will join us then as well, as the reels of justice keep turning.
Count it.
Put your stank on it.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.